Hello everyone. Today we are going to study about constraints in SQL. So what are constraints? They are the specify the rules for the data in a table, or they limit the type of data that can go into a table. For example, suppose we have a table employee, and in that table we have a column called ID. And we want that ID should be unique to all the rows, or if you want to set the ID as primary key, then we should specify the constraint primary key. So these are the constraints. Now the constraint, there are many types, and primary key is one of the constraints that we can specify in the MySQL. So to specify these constraints, we have two methods. One, when we create the table, we can specify the constraint. And after the table, we can also specify the constraint using alter table method. So now let's see what are these constraints. These constraints are not null, unique, primary key, foreign key, default, and check. And the not null constraint, it ensures that a column cannot have a null value. That is, when we create a table and after inserting the table, this not null constraint will make sure that the column does not have any null values. In some cases, when we insert the values not for some of the columns only, then the other column values will be null by default. So to remove the null values, we have to specify not null constraint. The second one, unique, it ensures that all values in a column are different. So by the word itself there is a meaning. Unique means all the column values should have unique values. For example, the roll number of a class, it will be unique for each and every student. The phone number, it will be unique. Now primary key. So it is the it is the column which can uniquely identify each row in a table. And it is a combination of null and unique. So what we mean by that, we know what is a key. A key is a column that can uniquely identify a row. So primary key is one of those keys which identifies the row uniquely. That is, if we have an employee table and if we have a column called ID, then if we set the ID as primary key, then this ID column will have unique values, and also there will be no any null values for this ID. So this is what we mean by primary key. Now what is the difference between unique and primary key is that for a table there will be only one primary key. That is, we can set only one column as primary key. But unique can be set for multiple columns. For more than one columns, we can make use of unique constraint. Now the fourth one is foreign key, which prevents the actions that would destroy links between the tables. Then default, it will set a default value for a column if no value is specified. Suppose for a column we don't give any values, means the default value will be assigned to it. The check constraint will check for the conditions while inserting the value. For example, if there is an age column and we specify that age should be greater than 18, then that column will not have age below 18. And if we try to insert also, it will give that error that age is less than 18. So these are the constraints. So by using the create table, we can give this constraint like create table name, then column 1 we have to give the data type. After that we have to specify the constraint. So for whichever columns you want to specify, you can specify it using the create table. And in alter table also we can specify it using the modify or add constraint keywords. So let's see how we do it. For example, yes, here I have a database called company which I have created in the previous videos. So in order to create that again, I am just writing use company. I am not creating it again like create database company. I have already created it. So I am directly starting from use company. And now here I am going to create a table called employee. Create table employee, and the first column should be ID and it is of int type or integer, whatever you can give, and I want to make ID as primary key, so I am giving like primary key. Now after that I will give one more column name varchar of 30, and here I want it should be not null, that is the column should not have null values, so I have to specify like not null. And one more age, and I will give that default value as 22. Yes, so our table is created. Now let me just write like this: describe company, and when not describe company, it should be describe employee. And when we write describe employee, the description of the table will be given. So there are 3 columns. Yes, we have given only 3 columns: ID, name and age, and the type, that is the data type of each column: ID int, name varchar, age int. And here it is saying null. So is there any null? We know that primary key will not have null values, and name we have specified as not null, so it is also no, and age it can have null values. Now key, only primary key we have set for ID, and the default value we have specified only for age as 22. Now let's insert some values. Insert into employee values, and I am going to give the first value as 1, comma, some name I will give, comma 32. So it is not necessary that only default, we can give any values. If we don't give the value for age, then the default value will be 22. So the first value is inserted. Now suppose I am going to insert one more value with some other name, and here you can see that I did not change the value of ID. So what will happen if I press enter? So it is showing me the error that duplicate entry 1 for key employee dot primary. It means that primary key there should not be any duplicate values. So ID is set as primary key, so that column should not have duplicate values. So instead of writing 1 again, I will give as 2. So this is one advantage if we set the primary key when we create the table itself. Now We know that there is one more method for giving the values, like insert into employee, and I am specifying only ID comma name. I want to give only values for ID and name. I don't want to give value for age. So I am writing like this: insert into employee ID name values 3 comma and semicolon. Yes, this is also proper. Now if I write select star from employee, you can see that our table has 3 records with ID 1, 2, 3, and the first 2 rows has the age 32, and we gave it while inserting the values. But for the last row with with ID as 3, we did not give the age. So what is the age that has come here? It is 22, which is the default value. So this is how we can specify the constraints. So for exam we require only these constraints. You can also check for other constraints. Now after creating the table, how can we remove these constraints? It is by using the alter table method itself. We can use drop primary key for removing the primary key, and for removing other constraints we can write like drop index. Now I have said that there are many other constraints like foreign key, check, unique. So to know more about these details, you can just go to this W3 Schools website, and here you can see there are so many details about these constraints, and you can check for each one of them: SQL primary key, foreign key, check, default, to how to insert them or how to alter the table using these constraints. So I hope the topic constraints is clear for you. In the next video, we are going to study about the drop and delete commands in SQL. Thank you.